Welcome to Aasai Rasai. Thanks for joining me. This recipe is for Ala Toffee or Ala Dosi as we call it in Sri Lanka. It basically means potato toffee. And you can see the ingredients are really simple. But it's the method that we're going to focus on, and I'm going to show you how you can make this in half the time and to perfection. So to get us started, we need to peel, slice and boil the potatoes until they are cooked through. Some potatoes might take a little longer to soften, like the waxy potatoes, but if you poke it with a fork and it goes all the way through, you will know that it's softened and ready to use. Next, we need to mash the potatoes. And here's the thing, if you're using a variety that is very starchy, it can be easily done like this with a fork. But if you're using a waxy potato like the Yukon Gold or yellow potatoes, they don't really mash that easily, so you'll have to put in an extra effort or run it in a blender. But they do still work for this recipe. So any potato is okay as long as you can mash it up really well. So now keep the mashed potatoes aside for a while. We're going to make the syrup, and this is the thing that you need to get right. The syrup is going to consist of sugar, coconut milk and water, and then we're going to bring this to a boil up to about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's just under the soft boil stage. So when you're making this, you have to dedicate about 30 minutes of undivided attention, just so that you could be stirring this continuously non-stop for that full 30 minutes. So plan ahead and make sure that everything's set up in a way that you can actually dedicate that time to make this. You can see how it has become really thick and bubbly, and this is exactly how we want it to be. If we keep going further like this stirring, it's going to become that one thread consistency, which is also called soft ball stage. So before we get there, I'm going to do a temperature check and see that it's about 200 degrees, and keep stirring all the time. Also reduce the heat at this point, because right now the pan is really hot and it's pretty much retained a lot of heat, so we don't want it to go too fast and burn the sugar. So reduce the heat to about low or medium low, whichever you're comfortable with. One of the reasons I don't like to use this candy thermometer is that it takes about 3 minutes to give me a reading, and that's time I don't have because I need to be stirring this all the time. So 200 degrees means it's time for us to add the potatoes, and you have to stir this pretty vigorously, but be careful because this is really hot and it tends to splash and splatter. So gently kind of stir it and make sure that all those lumps have been broken up. But any little lumps that didn't break up will eventually disintegrate in this syrup. That's if your potatoes are a starchy kind, not waxy kind. So that's something to think about. So over the next 20 minutes, this mixture will thicken and become really goopy. So don't worry about the watery consistency in the beginning when you add the potatoes. And you can see how the changes are happening. Stay in control of the heat. If you feel that it's too hot, just reduce it and take it slow. Depending on the thickness and type of your pan, you'll need to adjust the heat setting of your stove. For instance, the pan that I'm using is heavy stainless steel, so it holds the heat for a longer time. And that means that I have to reduce the heat setting to low or medium low after the pan becomes hot. That's just so that I don't burn the contents. And when the mixture becomes really thick like this, you can add any nuts that you want to add. I'm going to be using cashew nuts, because that's what I have. But I don't think the original way of making it even included cashews. But it's up to you if you want to add cashews, or if you just don't want anything in it, just the potato. Keep stirring and continue on with the process. Otherwise, just stop and add whatever you want to add. Now, traditionally, it was the cardamom that flavored this. I'm not adding cardamom. I'm going to add vanilla. And if you want to use almond, rose, orange flavor, or lemon, or any other flavor that you want, you're free to do it. It's not going to taste like the traditional one, but it'll taste what you want it to taste. I'm adding red coloring, and I thought this is going to be really vibrant and bright red, which was my goal, but it actually turned out to be like ground meat. So yeah, well, it's a little too late now to reverse that, so I'm gonna let it be. It's a pretty pink in daylight, but on camera it just looks like meat. So too bad for me, but maybe next time I'll just choose a lighter color. I don't know. We'll see. So it's been 30 minutes now and the mixture is coming away from the pan. All signs indicate that this is done. Like it's sticking to the spoon, the mass is following the spoon around, and there's stuff on the pan that's browning, which is not a good sign. That means it's hot, there's no moisture in this mixture anymore, and it's time to take it off. If you need to grab your baking sheet or a wooden board or whatever that you're going to use to turn this onto, keep this entire pan off the hot stove. So I've applied a little butter on this baking sheet, and do the same if you're using a wooden board. It's an easy way of checking if your mixture is ready. Just drop a piece into some cold tap water like this in a bowl, and you can see it holds its shape. It's not spreading out, it's not dissolving, and if I press into it, it's semi-solid. I can easily just press like that. So that means the mixture is ideal, it's ready. Just put it in the tray like this, or your, I don't know, wooden board maybe. That's what they used to use back in the day. And just spread it out like this. You could use one of those silicone spatulas to spread also, but I don't like any plastic and silicone on my food. I try to avoid it. So back of the spoon works just as well with a little butter on it to make it easy to spread. Now there's plenty of sunshine, so I'm trying to get my photographs done while I have the sunshine and the daylight. So it's a little bit not ready yet to come off, and that's why I'm struggling. If you can wait a couple of hours, you'll notice a big difference in the texture. And if you can wait 4 to 6 hours, that's when the real magic happens, when these Aluwa toffees develop that really crumbly texture. So I hope that you will like this recipe when you do try it out. And if you have been looking for a nice Aluwa toffee recipe that you could make in 30 minutes, this is it. And if you found this recipe to be helpful, pass it on to someone who might benefit from it. Thanks for watching.